Hey, what is up guys? In this video, I'm going to be teaching you 5 beginner opening traps that every chess player should know. So I hope you enjoy and let's get started. The first trap that I'm going to share with you today is a very popular trap that so many people have fallen for called the BlackBurne Shilling Trap, and it's so popular that I've already done like a funny chess video on this trap. But in case you didn't watch that, since currently when I'm making this video it has 15 views, I'm making another video on it. So the BlackBurne Shilling Trap, it goes like this. So e4, e5, you attack the pawn with knight f3. They defend the pawn, and you just develop your bishop. Casual, like maybe setting up for fried liver. And then what your opponent does is he goes knight d4, sacrificing the pawn. So if you take it, then you think, what is my opponent doing? Like, he just blundered a pawn, and now I'm threatening fork, attacking the queen and rook. So what is he thinking? But then your opponent goes queen g5, attacking the knights and the pawn. And then you're probably asking, like, 6 knight, bruh. Okay, he can attack whatever he wants, but we're about to take his pawn, attacking these guys, so, like, who cares about the dumb g-pawn? And okay, let's say that you're right. He takes it, or you take it, then this, and then your rook is under attack, okay? And if you lose the rook, then you're just screwed, because I mean you can't go king up because of the knight. You'll have to block with bishop. Then he takes the pawn. It just gets really ugly for you. So what you obviously do is you go rook f1, where it's defended by the king. And then here he takes the pawn, and you're obviously not going to block with queen, since then you just blunder a queen, and your king can't move anywhere to these squares, nor up, because that's where the queen is, so the only move is this. And then there comes the smothered mate with knight f3 checkmate. So that's the Blackburne Shilling Trap. Let's move on to the Englund Gambit. Number 2, the Englund Gambit. The Englund Gambit, I'm going to show 2 traps for the Englund Gambit, since there are 2 very popular ones, and I want to make the video 5 traps, 5 opening traps, not 4, so, you know, I added this one too. So, Englund Gambit, very, very, common opening. What it's actually played as, it is played as black. So what has to happen is black has to play d4, maybe setting up for like a London. But if they are trying to do a London, you stop that right away by playing this, since now that square is occupied by the pawn. So, and the Englund Gambit gets accepted when the pawn is taken. And the first line I'm going to share with you is a line bishop c5. And here, like, you're probably asking, like, 6 knight. Bruh, you just lost a pawn, now you're just back to developing pieces. What are you thinking? You'll see in a second, viewers, don't worry. And let's see your opponent just casually defends his pawn. Why not develop his knight? Like, what could possibly go wrong? And so, then we sacrifice another pawn, and white, of course, is like, bro, 6 knight. What happened? Why are you sacrificing all your pawns? So he takes, and then you pretend that you mouse slipped knight e7 instead of knight f6, and again they're gonna be like, oh my god, 6 knight, now I can take both of these, what are you thinking? But of course he takes the knight, and the same thing would happen if he takes the pawn, by the way. And then what you do is you take the pawn over here. And notice that the king is under check, and the king is defending the queen, and the queen is under attack, and the king is the only thing defending the queen. And the king can't go here because the queen, and king can't take his own soldiers and his wife, so he has to take the bishop. But now, since a king can't move like a knight, the queen is undefended, so you just psh, boom! And you take the queen, and you're up a queen on move 6 of the opening, and, you know, you're just completely winning. So that's number 1 trap, or that's the first trap I'm going to share with you today of the Englund Gambit. The second trap is you play knight c6. And now you're probably like, okay, 6 knight, finally I trust you because now you're at least attacking the pawn. But that's not, like, that's not the whole point of knight c6. You'll see why it is later. So then they just defend the pawn, being like, okay, like, okay, you can attack my pawn, you can sacrifice your pawn, but I'm not losing this pawn. Don't worry. So then you keep attacking it with queen e7. You keep attacking it, and then they just defend it with the bishop. That's what they're supposed to think. And then you go queen b4, forking the bishop and the king. And sometimes your opponent just won't notice the right move here. I'll give you a moment to try to notice it yourself. Comment down below if you did without help. What you do here as white is you play this, because it gets your bishop away from the square so it's not undefended, but it also stops the queen from checking the king. But then the pawn is also hanging, so then the rook is under attack. And then the correct move here is, or actually no, try to figure out what the best move here for white is again. Comment down below if you did without me telling you. Pause the video. Okay, so I hope you paused the video. If you didn't, that's fine. So the best move for black, or for white, would just be knight c3, because the rook is now defended, and the queen is just kind of stuck. And if you looked at Stockfish in this position, or any other chess engine, they would say white is just slightly better, because black's queen is in the middle of nowhere. But what a lot of the time lower-rated opponents and beginners would do is, oh boy. I think it just broke. Okay. Is this, because they think, oh, look at me, I'm so smart. The bishop is defended by my knight, and I'm defending my rook through X-ray vision, because if the queen takes, then I can just take the queen. And that's wrong, because then we have bishop b4. And from here on out, black is already winning, but there's a move that can make it even worse for white here. So, of course, white can't take black's queen, because then the bishop will be able to take the king. And if the bishop just takes this, which is the best move, then we just take the rook and we're up a rook. So are you kidding me? Okay, sheesh. So what white thinks is that, okay, well, I can't take this, and bishop's pinned, so I can just defend the bishop with another thing. That other thing is my queen. And they're gonna move here, because they don't want to get their queen taken. If they do move here, one second. If they do move here, then you can just take the queen, don't get me wrong, but you can also do a similar thing. This, and if they take back with queen, well, then I'll show you in a second what. So let's assume they don't blunder the queen. If they do, you can take the queen. But taking the bishop is another option. I'll tell you why. So what you do here is you still take the bishop, even though it's defended by two things. And they think, like, okay, if I take with queen, then I'll defend the rook with X-ray vision, and my knight defends the queen. So they take the bishop. And then we just have mate in one with queen c1 checkmate, because the king is under check, and there's nothing to block the square, and, just mate with the queen, because, I mean, the king can't take his own soldiers. Insane mate. And if they take with knight, which doesn't get them mated because the rook is open, then we just take the rook, and, I mean, you're still losing. And, yeah, that's what I was going to say. If they move here, you can just take the queen and get a free queen. Another option is to try to be tricky and, like, I don't know, like, stop them from having a hard attack because they blundered a queen, and you take this, and then the same thing happens. So that's the two traps of Englund Gambit. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3 is the Tennison Gambit, which is personally one of my favorite traps. The trap I'm sharing today is the one I learned later on, after I learned what Tennyson Gambit is in the first place, but it is the more effective and less, or more possible to get trap. And if you've never heard of the Tennyson Gambit, you're probably like, can you tell me what it is? So, Tennison Gambit is actually played by whites, and what happens is you just play e4, a very common opening, and if they play the Scandinavian, then you go knight or f3, sacrificing the pawn. And I'll tell you why that works in a second. But if you don't think you're going to be getting the Scandinavian a lot, like if you don't think your opponent at your rating never, or if you don't think that you'll ever get a game with e4, g5, then another option is just to go knight f3 right away, because against knight f3, d5 is a very popular move, so they play d5, and then you can just do this. So then let's say they take, then you move knight here, just attacking the pawn. And they just defend with knight. So, again, there are two traps. The one that I learned first is the one that more people share on YouTube, but because everybody already shared the other trap on YouTube, I'm gonna share I'm gonna share something that not so many people have shared. So, what happens here is similar to the Englund Gambit. You move queen to e2, attacking it, and they do this, and then this, and then this, and then this. And if you watched my Englund Gambit earlier this video, you get a similar thing. Just the same thing. They try to defend it. Bang. Except this time, the only difference is that there's no knight here, so they can go queen here, but it doesn't make a difference because bang, bang, and then just mate. And yeah, that's the trap that I was talking about the whole time. And last, but definitely not least, we have the Wayward Queen Attack, which is probably the most dubious trap that I'm going to share with you today. But, I mean, okay, we're talking beginner traps here, so, I mean, come on. How can you count this not a beginner trap? Like, people in PogChamps have fallen for this like 1,000 times. Like, that's the definition of a beginner trap. So, how it goes, e4, e5, very common opening. You'll get this like so many times in beginner levels. Like, I know, trust me, I've been there. And then instead of playing something normal like knight f3, knight c3, or bishop c4, or d3, or whatever you usually play, you play the weird move queen h5, attacking the pawn, but your opponent, because you're at a beginner level, is supposed to not really notice that. And because you're also pressuring this pawn, eventually going for a fool's mate on f7, they just go here, blocking the queen away right away, and they're thinking like, oh, dude, I'm so smart. I'm gonna attack the queen, get it away with tempo, or I'm gonna prepare to develop my bishop on g7 with tempo on the queen. But you don't really get the chance to do that because the queen takes on e5 right away, and from here, white is completely winning because, you're just getting half a pyramid of Giza, and, you're just forking the king and rook. No matter how they block with this, you just always do the same thing and take the rook. There's a little bit, like, if they block with queen, you still take the rook. The only annoying part is that they can then take this, but that's not a big deal. You can just block with knight or bishop. You can also just go king d1, defending your pawn if you want. You don't have to even. You can just block. It doesn't matter. Like, you're up a rook. Why do you care? So that's just a nice trap, a really quick one. And yeah, it's gonna be it for this video, you guys, because I shared my 5 traps. You got what you wanted, so now you can shoo. So, hope you enjoyed, and if you enjoyed this video and any of my other videos or live streams or anything, then make sure to like and subscribe because it really helps support my channel and encourages me to make more videos, and make sure that you never miss any of my other videos by turning on that notification bell. So, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.